Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talking Logistics, where we have conversations with thought leaders and newsmakers in the supply chain logistics industry. It's my great pleasure to welcome today's program Ryan Winter, who's Global Technical Sales Manager at FiveCubits, a Command Alkon company. And today we're going to talk about truck tracking and telematics in the heavy building material supply chain. Now, over the past couple of years, we've seen growing demand for truck tracking and telematics solutions, and this is particularly true in the heavy buildings material industry. So what factors are driving demand for these solutions? What are some of the key capabilities that companies are looking for? And how are these solutions delivering business value? Well, those are some of the questions we're going to address today, and certainly great to have Ryan on the program to kind of share his insights and advice on this topic, considering he's on the front lines of all this. So Ryan, welcome to the program.
Adrian, thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you.
Well, Ryan, before we dive into the topic, whenever I bring on a new guest onto the program, I'm always curious to learn a little bit about, how they got involved in this whole industry, to begin with. So why don't you briefly just tell us a little bit about your career path, how and why you got involved in kind of this whole industry and space, and kind of what your current role and responsibilities are there at FiveCubits.
That'd be great. Well, it started early. I graduated from Brigham Young University and moved into a communications and a business minor, and began my business, actually my whole experience in kind of the tech industry. At that point, I was offered an opportunity with the FiveCubits Track It opportunity, and thought it sounded really interesting and exciting, and to be on that front line of the thing. So I started about 11 years looking into the industry and learning the industry and what it takes and what it does, and I've been here ever since.
But that's great. And your role there at FiveCubits, what's your overall responsibility there?
Oh, very good. My role is the Global Technical Sales Manager. So anything FiveCubits product-wise, I help in all the opportunities as far as with all the other salespeople. So I'll travel globally or wherever it is here in the United States and be able to help them with those opportunities.
Great. So, great journey there, 11 years. Certainly a lot has changed in 11 years in this industry and with the technology and everything else. And like I said, it's it's become a hot topic now in recent years here. So let's start, first with a quick overview of the heavy building, material supply chain. I think a lot of, there might be some folks that might not be familiar with that industry. I had the opportunity to attend your conference last November. I certainly learned a lot, but I think, it might be helpful to just give a brief overview of the supply chain, who's involved, who are some of the participants.
Yeah, it's funny because you say you learned a lot, and we continue to learn a lot because it continues to evolve. And part of that is what we talked about, the supply chain, and what does that entail. And a lot of that is all the way, we think it's important to keep all of the supply chain together and to link them together so that we can see what's going on, all the way from the hauler to the supplier to the producers and the contractors. Without all of those pieces, then we're not going to work. If you don't have a hauler, then the supplier's not going to have the material to be moved, and the contractor won't have the product to build what they need to build. So we see that evolution coming and want to link those all together and let them see what's happening, which is really not really the way it is now. They all work as independent functions and don't really work together necessarily. So we would like to pull that all together. That's the overall view.
Yeah, no, I think that those were my, some of my takeaways as well. And there at the conference, I definitely saw a lot of interest and drive to kind of take a more integrated approach and enhance collaboration between all those participants. I think most folks they see buildings and they see construction, and that's kind of their view of the industry. But then when you kind of peel back the onion and look at behind the scenes and realize all that it takes to be able to pour that concrete and all the raw materials that go into it and all the coordination that's involved between, the suppliers and like you said, the haulers, which bring the materials back and forth. And obviously the contractors that are, in charge of getting these projects completed on time and within budget, I think is, pretty impressive undertaking. It's a global undertaking as well, too.
You're right. What does it take to get to the final? And there's a lot of work that happens before that.
All right, so let's get into the topic now. And like I said in my opening remarks, I mean, there's a lot of interest and demand today for companies in this industry for truck tracking and telematics. I mean, what are the main factors driving this demand?
Well, really efficiency. Customers and companies want to be as efficient as they possibly can. They want to know where maybe they're not doing as well as they maybe could do, such as what are my employees doing? What are my vehicles doing? Can I do more with what I have? Do more with rather than going and buying additional equipment or hiring additional employees. What can I do with what I have? Can I do more? Same number of employees, same number of equipment, maybe more jobs out there. And that becomes an efficiency level. Where can I cut out on what I call the non-productive time? This is the vision that you can see. It opens it up before your eyes so you can make really good decisions that will affect your company moving forward and help you be more efficient and effective.
Yeah, so when you see that, I mean, I see it's two elements. One is kind of the asset utilization, if you will, using the existing assets, whether it's the trucks, whether it's the drivers, the combination of that, and using that more effectively. I think the other component that I see a lot, I wonder if you agree, is kind of the customer service component to it as well. The ability to proactively notify, customers, in this industry, for example, if it's the contractor or if it's the supplier, to say, hey, we've got an updated ETA, right? So we thought we were going to be here at this time, but now it's actually going to be here, and then be able to proactively notify customers on that. So the customer service aspect of it, is that, you seeing that another element here?
Oh, absolutely, because your customer is, the contractor, and they want to know when the next truck's going to be there. They want to know when they need to have their employees there to help do the finishing work on that. And with the GPS, it opens up a brand new, a whole window for them to see and understand, so that you're providing a better service for your customers, helping them understand what they need to do and when they need to be ready. So it's a great marketing tool as well. And people choose to use customers or companies that have a system like this so that they can understand what they're doing and be more efficient themselves as well.
Right. I think that's a great point at the end, because I mean, in terms of how do you differentiate yourself? Like, let's say if you're a hauler, how do you differentiate yourself from the competition? The ability to provide, it's one thing to provide reliable service from the standpoint of, moving materials in a timely manner, in a safe manner, and so forth. But there's so much demand these days for visibility, and so much demand these days for data and information to be delivered as well. And those, companies that are able to do that, leveraging these types of tools, I think, like you said, kind of creates this, helps to create this differentiator as well. There's a lot of buzz and discussion around overall in the transportation industry about ELD mandate, electronic logging devices mandate. Is that something that also impacts the heavy building materials industry?
Absolutely. In fact, as of December 18th, the new rules and regulations applied and came into effect. And so that is definitely something that those customers that are within those regulations that need to fall within those, then they are certainly looking at a product that can handle the ELD certifications. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Because that's the other thing that I've seen in terms of another factor that's kind of driving demand for these types of solutions. So what are some of the key capabilities companies in the heavy building materials industry should look for in a truck tracking and telematic solutions? I mean, are there any kind of specialized capabilities for this industry?
Sure. There's products that run as a standalone, and they give you some information, but do they give you all the information you need? Probably not. So it's very important that they integrate into the other applications or the other business solutions that you're using, so that they work and flow together. So you're working as one and having the information all there together, rather than running individual and independent products. It becomes very difficult for those using the products to try to manage the systems when they're all separate. So running as an integrated operating product is best, into such things as a batch or into a dispatch or into the ELD products that we're talking about. Another thing is that inside the cab of the vehicles, there's limited space, limited real estate inside of that. So having things on one product, one device, is also extremely helpful for the individuals as they're in the cab of those trucks.
Yeah, those are two great points. I mean, I like the first one, because these solutions ultimately, I mean, you could deploy them as a standalone, but really where you're going to get them, it sounds like where you're going to get the most business value ultimately is when they're integrated as part of the overall, business process, whether it's part of dispatch and being able to, communicate and exchange information with kind of a dispatch system, like you said, or maybe even on the optimization front, if you need to re-optimize, routes or things of that nature, having that real-time visibility and information feeding into those systems to re-optimize, I think will probably be another point of integration, right?
Absolutely. Key information comes from all those different pieces of the pie, and working together gives you the total information that you need to really make those business decisions to relocate, to reallocate, to do whatever it needs to do. That's the key here, rather than trying to grab it from each individual product, but have it all there in one spot. So very, very important.
Right. Now, so, you can look at this under the kind of the whole fleet management, kind of arena. And when it comes to, fleet management, as we just talked right now, I mean, truck tracking is just one piece of that puzzle. I mean, what are some other kind of important elements, that companies should consider?
I think being able to handle what we call a closed status loop, starting at one point and ending virtually at the same point, it seems like a really easy ability to do, but understanding what you're doing in each one of those parts with those statuses, whether I'm loading and how long it takes me to load, if I'm on my way to the job and how long is it taking me, am I waiting at the job because the contractor's not ready? I want to know that so that I can maybe bill back, or at least understand if I can reallocate additional equipment somewhere else rather than keep throwing them at the same job when they don't need it. So a closed loop integration is extremely important in a system that they need to run and operate to help them understand what their jobs are doing.
So just so I understand, so part of what you're talking about here is almost some kind of like workforce management type of capabilities. So you obviously have that driver or that individual that's in the truck that driving and tracking the truck is one thing, but that individual is performing some tasks, whether it's pouring concrete or something, and so the ability to track those activities, is that what you're talking about?
Absolutely. We want to know everything that they're doing throughout the day, not only the driver but the truck. They need to be married together so that we understand everything that's happening with that. Real life decisions and timely decisions are needed to be made as a company, and this gives you that information so that you can make those decisions.
Right. Now, the other thing, I know this was something that was talked about at your conference, and certain a number of your customers were talking about, kind of deploying this, or the opportunities to deploy this, which is kind of geofencing. And so when you have geofencing, you could perhaps trigger some automatic business processes based on the moment it enters or leaves a certain geofence. It could, let's say, automatically send out a proof of delivery or automatically trigger payment or things like that. Are you seeing geofencing part of the capabilities that more customers are looking for or are looking to implement?
Well, with a telematics system, geofencing is a vital portion of that. It helps automate, when you're at the plants or when you're at the jobs. And automating the whole procedure happens through geofencing. So really, really important part of a telematics product.
So when you kind of look across, the customers that are using, truck tracking and telematics, I mean, what are some of the benefits that they're achieving? In other words, I mean, if I'm looking to build a business case, to implement this, I mean, what are some of the key components of that business case?
Well, we're looking for the ability to lessen the non-productive time that my employees are going through, the time from when they clock in at the clock, from the time they start their first job, that time in between, trying to push them through their day and help them be more productive. Better fleet and employee utilization. Do I need to send 6 trucks to the same job when I don't really need to? I can move 2 trucks somewhere else because I have enough trucks there to manage, and they're not moving as fast as they should. So I can do more with less. Better customer service and support. We talked about that. Our customers understand that we know where our fleets are, and they have a better understanding when they need to be ready at the job because they have that. Happier customers, which gives us more business. And then accurate data. The data is vital. As the data comes in, it's not only that I have the data, but it needs to be accurate, and then I need to do something with it. So we're giving the customers the ability evaluate what's happening on a daily basis, both the truck, the customer, the jobs, and tying that all together so they can make vital business decisions. So these are all really important benefits of using the telematics product.
Yeah, no, I hear the same thing from a lot of companies, and just broadly in general. I mean, the ability to have more real time data and information coming in, really is foundational to be able to make smarter and faster business decisions, right? Being able to instead of looking at the data that's already stale or old or incomplete, there's nothing like being able to be more proactive or manage exceptions more effectively than having this kind of real-time information. So that's what I hear a lot about.
Yeah, correct. 2 weeks from the time you do the job, and then you realize and do your numbers and figure out, oh, I didn't do very well on this job. 2 weeks is way too long. It's over and done. I have real-time information that I can look and calculate, and I can see, and I can essentially fix the issues on the time before I get too deep into the problem.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, what kind of challenge? I assume that some companies, as part of they get the business case, but now you ultimately have to implement this and get the buy-in from the organization and those involved with it. Are there any kind of specific challenges or hurdles that some companies face when implementing these solutions, and what are some of the leading practices in overcoming those challenges?
Absolutely. A lot of that is the way they've done business always. This is the way we've always done it. Doesn't necessarily mean it's right or wrong, but there's some change that needs to maybe happen when you start putting into place a telematics product. Financially, they look at the financial. Well, this is an outlay of cash, but they're not looking at what they're going to be saving on a regular basis to pay for that. They're going to be paying that no matter what, but now they're paying for a product that will continually give them savings over and over. So it's important to explain that to them. And then it's important also to get buy-in from their employees, because they look at it sometimes as, big brother's looking at us and watching what we're doing. But really we need to show them it's a tool to help to be more efficient, so that as a company we can get more business. We can keep you as an employee. We can continue to give raises and help your family move forward. So we need to use it as a tool rather than as something to be a big brother watching, and they need to understand that. So these are some of the things that we found that objections maybe and things that we need to jump over as far as hurdles to get them to understand the importance of a product like this.
Now, do you see, is it common for companies to maybe start small, meaning, maybe test this out with just a portion of their operations to kind of prove out that value, if you will, to get people to understand, what this is going to entail? Or do you find that, they kind of work toward kind of getting that buy-in and that rollout, across the board all at once?
Yeah, it's funny because when we first started years ago, we talked about evolution and how things continue to move. And back then it was more educating on what GPS is and what maybe it can do for you, in certain areas. Now it's more everybody knows what a telematics, a GPS system can do. It's fine-tuned to help them understand how it works specifically for them and their business. So it's more of a consultant role. This is what it can do and how it can help you the way you run your business. I think a major part of a problem too, and a hurdle, is a company that comes in and says, this is the way you need to do it because this is the way our product works. Whereas with our product, it's more, tell us how you do your business. You've been very successful. Let us help you enforce your business policies with a product like this so that you can continue to move forward and get more efficient the way you do business.
Right. Yeah, what I always find with this technology or other types of technology, particularly when there might be some initial resistance or some change management is always a hurdle. Trying to move away from the way we've always done things. I think what I always find interesting is that once people start using whatever the technology is, if you ask them 3-4 months later, hey, we're going to go back to the old way of doing things, they'll probably chop your head off and say, no way. We love this new way of doing it. Once now they kind of realize what that perhaps the fears and the concerns that they had, they were adequately addressed, but that in fact, these new tools actually makes their job, easier and more effective and more productive.
Seen that many, many times, when you're trying to get them over the hurdle of actually signing on and going forward with a product like this. I don't need it. I've always done business this way. And then they go into the product and they're using it and understand it, see the benefits of it. And then something goes down or something's not working right. Then you really understand, hey, this isn't working. I need this. They understand the benefits of it and they can't do without it. So you're exactly right.
Right. Well, Ryan, we're running short on time here, so I'm just going to go right to my last question here. I mean, as a way to wrap up, I mean, for companies that are, looking to get started with truck tracking and telematics, what steps should they take to kind of ultimately have a successful implementation and achieve the expected benefits?
Well, I think important that they really sit down with whomever and really talk about their needs and what they have, and help them understand how the product can help them satisfy those needs. Just to say that one product's going to work necessarily for them, it's an evaluation. They need to look at it and make sure that it's going to cross over and really give them the benefits that they need.
Yeah, that's a good recommendation, in terms of having that conversation, because a lot of times, I mean, I see, across the board with a lot of technology, some companies kind of rush to the next sexy new technology, right? But they really haven't defined the business problem or the business opportunity that they're looking to address. And unless you have that conversation, truly understand what it is that you're trying to achieve, and then see what capabilities or what solutions will marry up with those objectives, I think it's critical, because like the famous Yogi Berra quote, if you don't know where you're going, you might not get there, right? So you need to know where you're going and what you're looking to achieve, and then that helps to inform the what you're looking for in a technology and what you're looking for in a technology partner.
Absolutely.
Well, Ryan, like I always say at the end of all our episodes, we always just manage to scratch the surface on these topics, but you provided some great food for thought and some insight in this area, and I'm sure this is a topic that we'll probably revisit again down the road. So again, thank you for making the time to be with us today. Appreciate
your time. Thanks for letting me be on.
Great. I want to thank those of you that joined us. If you're watching this episode on demand, either at the FiveCubits Command Alkon website or on Talking Logistics, and you've got a question or a comment for Ryan, you can post it there. I'm sure he'll be more than happy to respond via that medium. Again, thank you all for joining us, and look forward to seeing you in a future episode of Talking Logistics. Have a great day.